All right, so we are here for our dedication to the craft interview with my good friend Steve Drozell, who is an actual professional photographer, not a hack like me. And we're actually out on a real photo shoot. We're actually waiting for it to get a little darker to go shoot the Old Stone Church in West Boylston, Massachusetts. We figured what better way to pass the time waiting for it to get dark than to do this interview. So we'll start off for you, Steve. Just tell the listeners of the podcast about your experience as a photographer.
It started off years and years and years ago when I was younger, and I just took an interest to photography right away. I had a very basic point-and-shoot camera, took a lot of really bad photos, and kind of grew from there. It took off again in high school when I took photography with you and Greg, and I believe Garbett was in our class and a few other people. Started to love it more. When I went to college, I had to pick a major and decided to become an art major, and I specialized in photography even though it wasn't an actual art major, or it wasn't an actual major at my school. And then when I graduated, I figured, well, I should probably do something with my degree, and I had a few jobs before I actually got a chance to become a photojournalist at a newspaper in the New Hampshire Seacoast area. And I was there for 4 years before I left.
See, so he knows what he's doing. So that's why I chose him to kind of share this for people that are looking to get into photography or looking to better themselves in photography. In your opinion, what is the most important thing a novice photographer can learn to make their photos better?
I think the most important thing right from the get-go is whatever camera you plan on shooting with, have a good working knowledge of the camera to start. Knowing what it's capable of will go a long way. If you want to get better as a photographer, just keep shooting. Take a bunch of photos of stuff you love. It makes it a little easier when it's a subject matter that you enjoy taking pictures of. While you're out shooting, try and look for different ways to see the same scene, either shooting from different angles or shooting it in different weather, different times of day, different seasons. Look at other people's photos. If you see photos that you like, try and emulate those. And I'm not saying go out and shoot the exact same photo, but if there's a certain style or a certain angle, try and go figure out how they got that photo and replicate it for yourself. Another thing that I always see that drives me up a wall with people that just take pictures, they're like, oh, look at this, I took a picture of a boat, and the boat is the smallest thing in the frame of the photo. So get as close as you can to your subject. If you can't get physically close, get lenses that'll get you as close as you can. They always talk about filling the frame with your subject. Obviously, a landscape, you're going to want to look for something interesting in the photo that kind of anchors the photo, but the landscape itself will be the main feature of the frame. That's part of what I was saying, but make sure your subject takes up 50 to 85% of the frame. Two of the most important pieces of advice I can give are always be prepared. Have extra batteries, memory cards, or film, if you're still shooting film. Be prepared for the elements, especially cold weather. Have gloves, extra layers, a hat. You don't want to miss out on something awesome because you weren't prepared and you get cold and have to go back to your car. The biggest thing, ask questions. Ask other photographers for advice. Most of them are usually willing to give advice and teach what they know. And if there's something specific, a technique that you're looking to try, Google it. With everything we have with the internet nowadays, chances are you're going to find what you're looking for. There's so many different things that people are doing now that they can shoot with just their phone and getting cool photos and images and videos that a lot of people also will post videos of how they got the shot or step-by-step technique to get the technique that they used to do what they did for the photo.
All right, so here's kind of an if-or. So if you could only have one of these, is it better to have the expensive photography equipment or that photographic eye to kind of see that great shot?
To be honest, for me, I used to think it was more important to have top-of-the-line equipment, and that's how you got the best stuff. But once cameras became more readily available on cell phones and the cameras on the phones themselves got better, I realized that it's really about the photographer and that you can take the crappiest equipment and get great photos if you know what you're doing and what you're looking for. If you insist on having a good camera and want a DSLR, which is a digital single reflex lens, which is basically the cameras that you can interchange the lenses, spend as much money as you can on the lenses. Like, get a decent camera body, but the image quality is going to, one, come from the photographer and what they see, but the better quality lenses are going to make the picture sharper and just look better in general. Having an eye for photography is something that can be learned, I think. I've noticed it with your work just from the early days of when we started shooting and how much better you've gotten. And there's times where, like, I see some of your photos and I'm like, damn, like, I wish I could have shot that. I think a lot of it comes down to you actually make it a point to go out and shoot a lot more than I do. Like, I either just because I'm busy or I'm lazy a lot of times, I don't go out and shoot nearly as much as I used to. And again, your work has come such a long way, and I think it's literally just from going out and continuously shooting and pushing, and you've gotten better because of that. So I do think that having a photographic eye is something that can be learned if you pay attention to what you're doing and you learn from the repetition. You'll start to see the photos, get better as you learn what your camera can do also, and you learn the different techniques and try stuff. See what works for you. If it helps, keep a little notepad, a little journal with you when you go out to shoot and try something new, and take notes. Make little notes in the journal about, like, okay, I tried this didn't work, I'm going to try this next time, or I tried this while I was there and this worked. So that way, if it's not something you shoot regularly, at least you'll have notes the next time you go out and you'll know what to do or how to set up the camera, what settings to use.
So it's literally trial and error. It's like, especially with digital, it's like you can take 1 million photos, and it's not like film where you shoot and then you've got to wait to get it developed and pray, like, oh God, make sure this is all right.
At this point, I've been shooting digital just a little bit longer than I was shooting film when I was actually doing it a lot as a photojournalist and also in college. I know the diehards, like the old school guys, will probably tell you that there was a richness to photos and film, and I think a lot of it was also something tangible. You could hold the film, you could touch the prints, and you can obviously still get digital stuff printed and hold it and touch it, but I don't think it's the same for a lot of the old school guys like that. For me personally, I like the instant gratification of seeing what I just shot and being able to adjust things as I go without wasting film. Film at this point, with the way I shoot and like some of our photo trips where we're shooting a couple hundred photos at a whack, those are the ones that we haven't deleted while we were out because we screwed up the shot or it didn't come out quite the way we wanted it. So in that sense, with film, it would get very expensive having to process the film and buying the film, and you might even miss out on an awesome moment because you're in the middle of either waiting for the film to rewind or you were changing out the film. So that's one huge advantage that I think digital has over the film cameras. It also takes some of the human element out of it. There's cons to both digital and film. I've had issues with the film processor when I worked at the newspaper that either something went wrong with the machine itself and the chemicals screwed up the film, which is not something you want to have to explain to the editor either that day or at 5 o'clock the next morning when he comes in asking where the photos were. The digital is nice because it takes that human error element out of the equation. The downside to that is you're trusting a computer. Digital cameras can crap out. The computer inside the camera itself can crap out. Phones die. You drop your phone, you break your phone, and you forgot to upload or save to the cloud a bunch of pictures you just took. So that stuff's gone. I have a friend of mine who I used to work with at the newspaper that I remember a few years ago. He's actually still a professional photographer. And his computer died, and I believe he lost hundreds of photos, if not a couple thousand photos of his that were all shot digitally. My biggest advice for stuff like that is get an external hard drive. If you're going to make photography a career choice, if you become good enough at it, buy a second external hard drive. It's never a bad thing to have backups of your backups of your backups.
Yeah, better to have too many backups than you have one set and you lose them.
Exactly.
Definitely get an external hard drive. I've got 2 of them.
On the film end with that, if you're not careful and really good about archiving your film, film can get scratched up, film can get damaged, and then it's basically a permanent ruin on the image itself because you can't really fix the film itself once it's damaged.
So we're here at the Old Stone Church. Well, we're a couple hundred yards from it. And this was a spot that's been on our list to shoot for several years. So the last question here is, what is the place that you'd like to photograph more than any, and why would you like to shoot that?
I don't have any one particular place. There's a lot of places I would love to shoot. One in particular, as you know, that I'm very jealous that you've already been to, was West Quoddy Lighthouse, and that general area, Lubec, Maine. The podcast episode where you were talking about Lubec, Maine, and just the general area, I've seen the pictures of the lighthouses. I know that part of it, but the rest of it sounds like it's an awesome place to shoot. There's the Grand Canyon, for obvious reasons, national parks in Arizona. All the natural features out there would be amazing. Like in Utah, I think, too. Hawaii. Alaska is definitely up near the top of that list. That's just in the U.S. I mean, there's other places that I would absolutely love to go. Like, I know there's somewhere in Thailand where there's a bay that there's all these amazing islands and stuff like that. I've been to the Caribbean quite a few times and still feel like I could go back there and take a lot more photos. And I think it's not necessarily places that, a lot of people want to go and shoot. I think you can make incredible photos wherever you are. It depends on how you want to look at things. I think that's the biggest thing, especially some of our big photo trips. Like, I think one of the ones was where we were going up to Owl's Head, Maine, and we left before sunrise because we were intent on stopping at Sohair Park in York, Maine to shoot the Nubble Lighthouse at sunrise, and then still drive another, whatever it was, like 2.5, 3 hours from there up to Owlhead and shot that, and then worked our way back down the coast, stopping at other iconic lighthouses like Marshall's Point, which is where Forrest Gump ran to when he was out running across the country in the movie.
Yes.
I mean, stuff like that, like places that I haven't been to that I've been looking forward to. I get like this nervous energy, just an excitement about it, knowing what potential there is. But I think a lot of it too, we get sidetracked easily and we end up making multiple stops along the way and find other things to shoot. A little bit of advice is, if you're traveling somewhere to shoot something specific, keep your eyes open. You'll be surprised what you'll find along the way. You'll always end up shooting more than what you had intended.
Absolutely. I mean, we did it just today, the Wachusett Dam.
Yep.
That ended up being an extra spot. So are you ready to go take some shots of the Old Stone Church now after dark? Because it is now pretty much there.
Yeah, it should be dark enough, unless this guy's kicking us out.
Uh-oh,
Ranger.
There's a park ranger coming over here. Well, in case we get kicked out, I wanted to say thank you so much, Steve, for being on the podcast. I've learned so much from you in photography, so it's one of those that I guess I could say I'm living proof of the repetition and the learning as you go. So anyone out there, listen to Steve and take that advice. And if you become a photographer because of this, or you feel your work got better because of this, definitely shoot me an email, send some thanks, and I will send them along to Steve.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, let's get out in the cold and start shooting this Old Stone Church.
All right.